That was easily one of my slappiest montages of all time, but at least I'm here to give you a review. So you're probably thinking right now, didn't I just review Shogun Total War? Well, you're right, but that doesn't mean you can stop me from reviewing the sequel, even if it's only been a week. This game, Creative Assembly decided to go back to its roots with feudal Japan, which is a welcome return as melee combat is the strength of Total War. However, many players felt skeptical as we were going from a game with epic scale of Empire Total War, I'm not counting Napoleon Total War, to a game that was centered around one island. So what was the result of Shogun 2? Did going back to its roots help create a very focused and deep game, or is the relatively small scale not enough to keep players interested? Either way, it's time to don our samurai armor and prepare for a battle of honor. This is Shogun 2 Total War. As always, you can select the Grand Campaign and choose your clan. Each clan has its own benefits and drawbacks. While they all pretty much share the same basic units, some clans are much easier to progress with than others. There aren't any factions to unlock, but you can buy some with DLC. The amount of DLC in this game is tolerable, but it goes way too far in the sequel, Rome 2. So once you select a clan, you're given an intro and right after are dropped onto the campaign map. From here, it's a good idea to smell the roses and breathe the fresh air. Japan looks absolutely beautiful in this game. From a graphical and presentation standpoint, this is leaps and bounds better than any Total War game before it. The way the snow falls on the ground, the way the seasons change on the campaign map, vibrant colors on the banners, and so much more make this a technical masterpiece. The frame rate is also surprisingly consistent as well. The only reason why it drops in this video is because of fraps. Other than that, it's 60 frames all the way for me. The DLC factions, you'll start off with one province. Most of the time you'll have one clan that you'll be at war with and another one that's trading with you. But if you've picked the Oda clan, then everybody hates you. From this, it adds a bit of structure and a sense of direction without making it completely linear, unlike Napoleon Total War. You'll know who to attack first, but from there, it's up to you to find out what to do next. So let's shift gears and focus on the combat. Every year, the combat is altered for better or for worse. Here, it pays off. Thank God for the return of pre-battle speeches. They were my favorite part in Medieval 2 Total War. It's all done in Japanese, which feels very authentic and helps with that all-important immersion factor. Admittedly, even though these speeches aren't as varied or epic as Medieval 2 was, they're still very well done in both scripting and voice acting. Depending on the time period, the player has to adjust on how to play the battles. Rome focused on defensive play, Medieval 2 focused on aggressive play, Empire focused on positioning, and it seems that Shogun 2 focuses on numbers. Even though one of your units can wipe out another unit, you need to make sure that they do not lose morale by getting overwhelmed by enemy troops. Morale drops seem to happen a lot more in this game than in past Total War titles. This isn't necessarily a bad thing though. Instead, it presents a new challenge for Total War veterans to overcome, making sure everyone stays on their toes. Battles are much more of a spectacle this time around. Instead of your troops just flailing their weapons at enemies, each troop activates unique animations when engaged in combat. You can easily get lost in watching these battles and cheering on your units to victory. And of course, with thousands of soldiers on screen and the beautiful, crisp graphics, it's almost like watching a movie. I know this was introduced in Rome 2, but this game would have really benefited from the cinematic camera. And of course, we got the Naval Battles. They were introduced in Empire and now have been a bit expanded upon. They were my least favorite part in Empire, but they are much more enjoyable here in Shogun 2. Cannons aren't really prevalent, so the only time you'll need to line up on the side is when you are boarding enemy ships. Other than that, you can shoot arrows from all directions. In a nutshell, the battles are amazing to look at, but not much else. They aren't bad and capturing ships is really cool, but overall, the battles were a bit forgettable. However, trade routes and income are more important than ever before, so having a strong navy is key to a successful economy. Before we move on to the campaign map and how everything works, I want to just mention how awesome the music is. The victory song is easily one of my favorite tracks in the game. Just listen to it for a second. It really gets you going and sets up the perfect celebration after a victory. Now to the campaign map. The biggest benefit with the Warscape engine is the fact that you can work on multiple buildings at once within a single province. For example, instead of just having to pick either upgrading the farm or the Sword Academy, you can now upgrade both at the same time, saving you valuable turns. The same effect is given to recruiting units. You can have a dock to create a warship, while the province can recruit some Yari-Asirigu. The streamlined approach makes managing multiple provinces a smoother experience than previous entries. As always, a review of Total War cannot be complete without mentioning the agents. In this one, there are a plethora of agents to choose from. You have the monks and missionaries for religion, ninjas for spying and assassinations, the Metsuke for bribery and counter-espionage, and of course, the badass geishas. Some of the actions with the agents cost koku, so using them correctly and efficiently will be the key to success. The videos for Assassinations have fortunately been continued in this one. They are much more comical this time around, and some of them were downright hilarious. There are still some badass moments as well, so it's definitely worth watching. I recommend you to at least sit through a couple of these with a couple of friends. You'll thank me later. Diplomacy has been further improved. Once you discover a clan, you can enter in diplomatic negotiations with them whenever you'd like to. Not only are alliances much stronger with clans less often breaking their alliances, you can now pursue new actions such as exchanging hostages. This involves giving a son or daughter to the opposite clan for 2 years. If the agreement is broken, then he/she dies. This could be useful if you want to gain leverage on another clan. Both agents and generals level up throughout the game. From this, you can choose how they get better. You can make ninjas better with assassinations or be able to move more per turn. You can make generals more loyal or better tacticians in land battles, and so much more. It adds control on how each character will turn out and develop, making you feel more attached to what happens to them. There's a tech tree in form of mastery of the arts. You can focus on getting better weapons and units, or focus on developing your nation, or clan I should say, my mistake. Your choice on what new technology to research will determine how you'll play the rest of the campaign. Wow, there's just so much to mention, and I feel like I've barely been able to scratch the surface. This goes without saying, but a lot happens in the campaign. There are many events that happen, such as traders visiting your ports. If you choose to trade with them, this gives you access to guns and Western technology, but will force you to become Christian if you build a port specifically for them. Missions will come up time to time for you to complete, giving you certain benefits and a sense of direction. There are also decisions that you can make that will affect your research rate, recruiting rate, tax bonuses, and recruiting of generals. Everything is revolved around the daimo's honor. Honor is gained from certain retainers and traits, as well as certain technologies. However, you can lose honor by looting enemy provinces and sustaining huge losses in battle. Having negative honor will lower your diplomatic rating with other clans and create low loyalty with generals and even with your sons. Now, I've been very positive so far, but it's time to talk about some of my gripes. The biggest one I have is the difficulty. This is easily the hardest Total War game I have ever played. I consider myself an experienced player, but this game made me feel like an absolute peon. I'm an okay general, but my biggest complaint is with the economy. Not only is it very difficult to have a stable economy, it is also very easy for you to get outproduced by your opponents. I want to save up and get some really cool badass monks in my army, but it takes way too long to get the correct buildings. The pace is so fast that I can't even keep up with other clans. Heck, even clans with only one province somehow have a full stack of units. I also hate how everyone starts out at 1 star for generals. This wasn't the case for Medieval 2, when even 16-year-olds could be 6-star generals if they had good parents. The only ones that seem to have high-star generals are your opponents. I don't know if it's like this for the multiplayer campaign, but it is like this for the single player. The farthest I have ever reached was Realm Divide, which is a mechanic that pisses me off. When I got it, the Shimazu had over 22 provinces, while I, the Chosokabe, only had 15. This happens when you accumulate enough fame where the Shogun sees you as a threat. Everyone turns against you minus a few close friends. I find it funny that the Shogunate actually considered me a threat, since the Shimazu just a couple turns later took over them. So yeah, stupid move by them. The game also has a variety of modes, which is the most out of any Total War game that came before it. Besides the historic battles and the custom skirmishes, there's also a fully fledged campaign for multiplayer with some features to keep the idle players busy. Multiplayer is another beast to deal with entirely regarding its own modes and features, but overall, it's nothing short of excellent. It's easily one of the best multiplayer experiences for Total War. But even though this game is a bit too hard for me, I still feel like going back and starting over. Maybe I can get a bit farther and try out another clan to see what I can do with them. Overall, Creative Assembly did well with this game. Sure, it kicks my ass way too many times, but I feel like I can get better. Even though this game was set in a smaller area, they still made everything feel massive. Battles are huge, and there is a huge level of focus when working on this title. It really shows in the final product. It's another game that I highly recommend. I haven't beaten it yet, but I will one day. It is my destiny to do so. I need to continue my training and master the art of Bushido. Thank you guys for watching. This is Pow3rh0use, signing off.